Namaste and welcome Libra to your tarot card reading for this new moon phase. And it's a new moon in Sagittarius. That means a lot of fire energy coming our way. So for you Libra, it's probably after that buffering time when you try to find and sustain your inner peace, you're grounded enough to go back out there and just like go to a concert, have a good time, meet some friends, whatever, right? But that's exactly the explorative energy that the Sagittarius new moon is pushing us towards. That being said, it is a general reading, so if the message doesn't resonate with you, feel free to drop the message. If it does resonate with you, drop a comment, like and subscribe. Needs one more shuffle, just because the gut says so. And then we're checking out in the DNA spread how this is coming into manifestation for you. In the soul spot, the spot of the zero, that is what your soul decided it's time to do. It's time to get out of your head. That's the Ten of Swords. And the Ten of Swords is a really good card for realizing that it's done. You know, it's a full completion in mind energy. That is the Swords. And especially when it's in reverse, even though with the Thoth Tarot deck, you're not supposed to read reversals, I'll do it anyway. But your soul decided it's time to get out of the Ten of Swords, where you've been in that situation where you realize you got to get out of your head, you got to ground yourself, that kind of feeling, right? But that's gone now. Like your soul is getting out of that. It's like it's not about grounding yourself anymore. It's about something different, and we're going to see about what. In the spot of the 9, that is the topic of your reading, basically, the energy that is the core of it all, that you're emerging as from this experience. It's the High Priestess. There you go. The High Priestess in the middle of your reading, coming from a Ten of Swords. That is really getting out of your head and embracing your intuition, right? Your higher knowledge, embracing yourself as your own guide, right? That is very beautiful. And just like going with the flow in a sense that you know wherever your nose is leading you, it's going to be perfect and good things will happen if you just like follow your hunches, right? That's exactly what you're gaining from this. Probably something's going to happen to confirm your hunch, whatever it is, right? So you're following your hunch, and it's gonna work out pretty well. So that's why you're ending up in the High Priestess, where you're like, told you I can do it, to yourself probably. But let's see. In the spot of the 10, that is how you're manifesting this. The situation you're learning this through is the Three of Pentacles. Something in your work is working out. Something is taking your work to the next level, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be like work, right? But something you're working on. Can be passion, can be a relationship even, right? But it's something very tangible and probably has to do with other people, because Three of Pentacles, or Three of Discs here, is a card for networking. It is, not to get too nerdy about it, but it is when the two-dimensional plane becomes a three-dimensional object, when another dimension is coming in, and it's really something tangible all of a sudden, right? And that third dimension often is help from others or working together with others, right? That's why it's often a card for teamwork. But very abstractly speaking, it's just your plan taking form, or something taking form for you, and it's probably confirmed from the outside since it holds that energy, right? That very tangible manifestation energy. Very cool. So it looks like you're getting some props from your colleagues for whatever hunch you were following. Now let's see what that hunch is. In the spot of the 1, that is the thing that gets you going internally, the spark you have basically to come into manifestation, to start this experience from the inside. That is the Knight of Cups. That's beautiful. That is emotion, that is love, and that is, well, not being afraid to talk about your feelings, right? It's like, yeah, that could be a hunch, and not like a passionate, no, I'm not going to do this, blah, 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 or hey, we got to do it that way. But maybe that person in the meeting that is just like, I don't exactly know what it is, guys, but it doesn't feel right to me. Maybe we should take another look, you know? And that could exactly be it, when then people actually find a mistake and they're like, oh, you got a nice intuition here. But it's definitely an emotion, a feeling that needs to be expressed. That's why it's the night, you know? It's like confronting. It's very like a cardinal water energy right here, right? So Cancer, hi. And that's the cardinal water sign, right? So I always identify with that Knight of Cups. It could be a person also that is inspiring you to do this, but I really get the sense that it's you having that hunch, having that intuitive feeling. Now let's see how this is in the spot of the two, um, received and balanced here. That is the Five of Cups. Five of Cups talks about disappointment. Um, I get a different feeling for you here, a more abstract one, where the five is simply for change, and your emotions have changed basically. Like the cups is for water energy, and the five is for change. So it's a change in your emotions where you're like, you know what? I first felt like this is a good idea, but somehow this is not exactly how I pictured it. Could be something like this. So that's a version of disappointment, right? When you like when your expectation like when your expectations, that's disappointment, right? When your expectations on an emotional level are not met. And that's why the Five of Cups is talking about disappointment, right? So that Knight of Cups is talking about a disappointment where you're like, you know, guys, really, it doesn't feel right to me anymore, right? Something has changed here. Now let's see what you're gaining from this. In the spot of the three, that is the idea that you're gaining from, this, and like a tangible insight that is gonna make you progress. So that is the Chariot in reverse. Mm-hmm. that that could be how this is showing, like the Chariot in reverse, and like you're very determined, right? And in reverse could mean that you're not as determined anymore, right? And you don't want to lose or give up that determination. So if you're reading reversals, it is like you're realizing that you're losing determination for the project, and by that realizing that something emotionally within you has shifted, right? So that is how your hunch is coming through, is like, somehow I'm not in it anymore because it feels kind of disappointing, right? If we're not reading reversals, it kind of comes down to the same thing, where um where you're like, you know, this is kind of disappointing, but I'm so determined for it to be something real. You know, I'm so determined for this to feel right. I cannot let go of this feeling that something is off or something has changed, right? So there could be like the problem, if you're not embracing the Knight of Cups, if you're not embracing making that feeling known, then you're getting stuck in a like lethargic kind of energy, right, with the Chariot in reverse, where you're like not in it anymore. But I don't get that. Since you're starting with the Knight of Cups, you're already in the Knight of Cups energy when that disappointment comes up, where you're like, yeah, we're going to do this. And it's like, yeah, but what exactly is this anyway, right? Why doesn't it feel like I pictured it? And then you're realizing something about your own determination and what you really want from it, right? That the emotional attachment, or like the love you put in the project or whatever it is, you know, really is a main motivation for you, and you cannot get around that. That's like the Chariot, right? You're like, your determination of working on that project is coming from an emotional base and not from the head. That's why you're getting out of the Ten of Swords, where you're like, you know, let's do this, and or just feels doesn't feel right anymore. That's the next step. And now let's see, in the spot of the four, the thing that gives you security, this feels very much in the moment for you. So it's like a rather sudden thing. So the 4 might not exactly be talking about home as it does for so many, but here it's more a sense of security and stability that is kind of working together with that disappointment, determination. Yeah, okay. It's the 8 of Swords. The 8 of Swords is talking about interference, right? When there's just a lot of opinions around that you kind of have to weigh, and you're trying to not get lost in all those opinions and belief systems, mindsets, right? So if that is giving you stability, it's also kind of talking about the things you made up for yourself, right? So it's very interesting that 4 with that 8 of Swords right here has kind of a different meaning. I have to see how this is balanced, because it feels to me like going into that direction of fending off those swords is an idea that gives you a lot of control. The 4 interpreted in a sense of control and stability, like inner stability, right? So that determination speaks through that 4 in an 8 of Swords, in that situation where like everybody has a different opinion of this, and you're like, yeah, but no. And it's a good feeling for you to challenge that. Now let's see what in the spot of the challenge, the 5, actually is coming up for you to verify my hunch here. Yeah, that's the 8. That's the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands is talking about swift decision and communication, right? There's just a lot of passion that has to be addressed and spoken about, and especially since this is coming from the Knight of Cups. So it's not like you're thinking about it, sitting in that meeting, being all like, should I, shouldn't I? No, you're very intuitively speaking your mind about this, like, yeah guys, but this doesn't exactly feel right. Where in other situations in the past you might have hesitated, you're not hesitating anymore. You're speaking your emotional truth like this, just like that. And the funny thing is, in the challenge roll you have 2 8s, right? So yeah, there is a lot of abundance, and it's a channel for infinite wisdom. Still, you don't want to hit people over the head with it, because it's a lot. So it's abundance, but it is like dealing with an 8 of Swords with an 8 of Wands is that energy for like, okay guys, if you think that this and this and this needs to be done, let's talk about this. Why? Why are you so passionate to get this done? And people be like, but yeah, but because that's how we always done it. It's like, yeah, that's not a reason though, right? And you're engaging in that conversation. It's very interesting. So your water energy, through that strong motivation, is a little disappointed of what's on the table here, and there's a lot of mindsets involved and interests involved that have to be communicated, and you're standing strong as your high priestess in the middle, where you're like, I told you guys, like, this feels off, you see. And once we're talking about it, we actually see that we all have still like different stakes in the game, different opinions about it, and it's not exactly a 5 of Wands here on the table, so it's not conflict per se, but there is the talk, right? The 8 of Wands, there is the talk in the spot of the 5, so there is definitely something to talk about and to figure out here. Now let's see, we're moving further into manifestation. In the spot of the 7, that is what you're identifying with, and in this situation probably drawing a lot of strength from, that is the Fool in reverse, but it's a Fool, is like, you want to, you kind of know that you have to do it in a new way, in another way. You know that you, and especially coming from that 8 of Swords, where it's a lot about doing things the way you've been doing them, like holding on to mindsets, kind of building your cage, right? The Fool destroys an Eight of Swords, just like that, because the Fool is talking about a whole new way, finding a new way of doing things and doing new things, right? So if it's about a project where you're involved in, you probably realize you like it doesn't feel right to you to just do the same old if what you're achieving is or what you're trying to achieve is so much bigger than that, right? It's like, very interesting, very, very interesting that you're very determined to make that Fool work, because going into that new direction and like thinking about the new chapter in your life, you're very determined to make that work, and that is where your zero tolerance policy is kind of coming from. It's very interesting. Let's see how this Fool is received. On the other hand, like that is the Eight. The spot of the Eight is talking about abundance, and since you already have two eights on the table, very much curious what in the spot of the Eight here lies for you. That's a Hermit. The Hermit. The Hermit is kind of saying, like, it's talking about learning something new, right? And like pulling back into your cave and doing your studies and finding that inner light. So it's very beautiful. It seems like you're doing your homework here, or you have to do your homework. Like, it doesn't feel right to you, but you're so determined to make it work, you can't let that disappointment sit with you. And then you have to kind of talk about it against all the different belief systems and interests that are involved. And that all happens for you in like a work or teamwork situation, or maybe networking situation, where you realize, okay, this could be even bigger than I thought, right? And the way I'm doing this, the way I'm feeling about it is new to me. I'm feeling like a new person, and I somehow have to figure out what that is, and maybe about the project have to figure out how to solve this, right? So it's really like, okay, guys, I don't know what it is, but let me just have a second look. I have the feeling something's off, and I have to check it out really and analyze it and see if this is the path that we want to go, right? Or that you want to go. Like, maybe it is more internally for you, but it is talking about a Three of Discs, and that is probably about taking some work to the next level. Someone is involved here, right? But you're very determined to do your homework also, because you see that Fool in the distance. In a sense, you see that new beginning in the distance. You kind of know something big is brewing here, and you have to be prepared for it, right? And your intuition is telling you to take a closer look, and you're doing it, right? Very, very beautiful. Now let's see. In the spot of the Six, that is the insight you're gaining from this, that is kind of elevating your experience, that is lightening your mood, making you understand something about the entire situation here. And that is the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands, that is so beautiful. That is exactly why you're seeing that Fool, because the Ace of Wands and the Fool are basically the same energy, but as a minor arcana, right? So that could mean that maybe you're not seeing the Fool after all. You just know it's a new beginning, but you don't know how big yet. That is often because the Fool has so much potential. It's the very first card in the tarot. It is talking about the naivety and the sheer power that comes with that naivety, where you're just like, you know what? I don't know what's going to come, but we're going to manage, right? And the Ace of Wands is like a sheer impulse of passion and fire energy that might, like, it's not exactly directed, but it's not as open and light-hearted as the Fool. It's a minor arcana also, but it basically is talking about the same kind of energy. It's both the Hebrew letter Aleph, in a sense. It is both moving forward, whatever, like, into whatever adventure. But that's the Sagittarius energy that is hitting you, where you're like, I know I can do this. I know I got to do this, and there's a lot of potential in here to like be be very like emotional, right? And like beautiful. Ace of Wands, just a good feeling and just very proud and progressive. It's funny that you realize, and there's another twist in it. Like you realize the potential, whatever this is you're working on. You realize the potential this has to make you happy and like for the long haul, being like something very very beautiful that is going to take you a long way. Even though it's an Ace of Wands that is burning quickly, there's a Three of Discs. So this is what it's all about, right? Now that is the thing. You're doing a lot of homework, which is cool. And it's probably necessary because your intuition is telling you to. Now the flip side of that is that you have to find that point in time, space, whatever, where you have to move on, where that Ace of Wands really needs to be fulfilled. So that could also be it. That, because it's such a new beginning, you have to do your homework, and that you're so committed to doing it right. Then at a certain point, you have to realize, in the spot of realization, there's an Ace of Wands where you're like, you know what? I just got to do it. I just got to really like, if it's not like this, maybe I should, mix it up, but I don't have to think about it too much. I have to think about it, but then when I get an impulse, I have to use that impulse. So it's really talking about the balance that also the High Priestess is talking about, because the High Priestess is not, well, she's kind of sitting on her ass and waiting for an insight, right? But when that insight comes, you have to act on that insight, right? So getting lost sort of in the Hermit with that Fool in reverse could be that you're talking about it a little too much, especially for the people in the room, which is not exactly wrong. You just have to realize your impulse at first is a beautiful thing because it takes the pace out a little, makes people double check and whatever, and it gives you an empowering feeling of having spoken for your intuition, which then empowers you to take the next step. Does that make sense for you? It's like you're feeling a little insecure with whatever you're doing because it doesn't feel right to you, but the moment you talk about it, that it's not feeling right for you, that's when you get back into action mode because you feel that pride and that passion, right? When you talk about why and it's not feeling right, all that stuff. So it's a bit of both, really. It is like you have that impression that something is off. You're going with your gut, taking a look at it again, but then you have to realize when another insight comes in, you have to act on that insight. Just the same you did act on the emotion that drove you to look for that insight, right? So the water makes you kind of take out the pace, and then you look at it a second time, and then the fire comes in where you're like, boom, okay, right? And you feel empowered by that. It's very beautiful. And it seems like that fire is very inspiring for the people around you, because this all is coming down to the Three of Discs, where something is taking form, and probably even a little faster than you anticipated once you first felt a little less determined, a little disappointed emotionally, whatever. But the moment you're getting an insight about like, yeah, I was right, something was off with this, that's when you get that fire energy. That's when you're ready to embrace the Sagittarius energy, when you're like, you know what, guys, I thought about it. I really don't know exactly how to do it. I just know this is not the way, and here are a couple of options we can explore, right? So this kind of way where you're like, you don't have to, you know that, like, have it planned out to the end to get moving again, right? but the mere fact that you're speaking your mind or speak from your heart here is giving you a strong feeling about yourself and your path also, right? The hermit also talks about finding your path, and your path could very well be putting things into perspective here, right? Through your impulse, whatever it is that that you're giving, that you're bringing to the table here, it is it sits deep for you. It is like it's part of your path to be that kind of inspiration and that kind of impulse, whatever it is, you know. So like that's very beautiful. I mean, like even if this is like this can work for any project. This can also be talking about a relationship, right? And since you're a LIBRA, probably there's more people involved, or it's about like the relationship within a group, you know, like the group dynamic. That could also be. But even if it's with a relationship, it's like, you know what, I got to get out of my head here. Like this is not feeling right. Why is it not feeling right? We got to have the talk. Maybe we are thinking about different things and have to sort some things out. But I feel like something is off. Let's look for this, you know. Let's go into hermit mode, maybe like have an evening on the couch and just, you know, be together and see where that leads us, because I have the feeling that it's leading us somewhere completely new, right? On the next level. That could also be it. Like that's the relationship variant of this. Um, Late in the game, but it is, right? It's all abstract energy. So you are deciding how you want to experience those energies, but I get the feeling that you're working with it really well, especially when you're so proud of having spoken from the heart, and that is like driving you back towards your intuition, your inner moral compass, your inner compass on every level. So that's a beautiful energy to be in. I hope that resonated with you, Libra. Leave me a comment if it did, or if it didn't, whatever. I just like feedback and enjoy this energy. It feels like you're going to be really proud of yourself that you like got out of your head and into your heart. That's a cool energy to be in. Enjoy this. Thank you so much, Libra. I love you.